Okay, attendance enabled, guys. So mark your attendance, guys. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, guys. Mark your attendance, everyone. Okay. So are there? Yeah. Good afternoon, guys. Are there any shepherds? Any volunteers for shepherding? So we are going to discuss the lecture number 2.3 and 2.4 today. And in the afternoon session, that will be. By the way, would you guys like to have like half an hour more? Because I understand. So when you guys have this extra class at 2, right? So
Yes,
you
sir.
can actually we can actually start at 2:30. We have up to 2 to 4. So we can because I understand you guys need some time to have lunch. So if you guys want, I can give you about half an hour more. So we can start at 2:30 also. Okay, that's fine. So we'll need about 1 hour. The next week's lecture is not really that long. So you guys we can sit at 2:30. Okay. I'll can you guys please manage it between yourselves, right? Everyone knows that we are starting at 2:30. Otherwise, I'll have to send an email. I'm actually fed up of sending emails right now. I get so many emails every day that sometimes I simply don't want to look at my my mailbox. There are still like since I started this class, there are 300 emails. I replied to them right before coming to the class, and there are already 300 emails. So uh, actually, 2 to 4 is the slot. Yes, we won't need the full 2 hours. Not more than an hour, I would say. So we can actually start at 2:30 and we can finish by 3:30. So that is what I was saying that yeah, please Rohit, I mean just make sure that you guys tell everyone I'm so fed up with writing emails right now that I just don't want to write another one. Plus, I anyhow probably spam you guys a lot every day. So yeah, so you guys probably you are already getting far too many emails from me anyhow. So I just don't want to keep adding more to that. So just somehow figure it out between yourselves that we'll start at 2:30 then. Okay. Okay. So that will be for the extra class. Um, oh, other teachers are also sending you lots of emails. Okay, so I thought I'm the only exception. So good to know that I'm not the only exception. Yes, Sahil, that is what, and that is what, right? See, I said that I expect that you guys will make my life hell, and so it is coming true, right? But the idea is that so many emails also mean that you guys are having doubts and you guys are studying. So I'm also happy, right? I get tired, but I'm also happy that you guys are studying. So yeah, I will reply to each and every email, by the way. Don't worry. Even if it gets delayed by a few hours, sometimes I also get busy with other stuff, but I will reply to all your emails. I don't think has been uh, there has been any single email that I have not yet replied to. Maybe I missed someone in the middle. It could be possible because I get around 60, 70, 80 emails every day from you guys. So sometimes it is possible that I may miss one in the middle, but I purposefully never ever try not to reply. Even if I reply back with a single word like okay, done, something like that, right? So I do that every time. Anyhow, so yeah, so we'll sit at 2:30 then. Okay. And that for this session, are we having any volunteers?
So I could volunteer, but I have already volunteered twice. So
So yeah, Pranav, let's wait. Let's see if there are anyone else or not.
yeah.
Okay. Are there any volunteers, guys? Especially those who have not done it before. Okay. I mean, I know that there are some of you who are already, too enthusiastic to be again. Uh, Hemal, have you not been a volunteer? Have you been a shepherd before? Okay, so Hemal is one, and from this time onwards, the first shepherd will also have another responsibility. So, Hemal, at the end of the class, you have to send me an email that has the name of all the shepherds. Okay, because when I have to upload these videos on YouTube, I have to give you guys the credits, and at that time, I have to send this email to the whole batch. So, for example, I still don't know who were the shepherds for last Monday, right? Uh, I think one one email that I got was from
Yes, sir. I have sent that email.
yeah, right. So you said that basically the same shepherds were there on both days, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay,
Monday and
okay.
Tuesday, both the same shepherds.
Okay, okay. So I'll just copy the names from there and there. Okay. So that is a relief because I have to upload those videos and not yet done it on YouTube. It is there on the Google Drive folder, by the way. Um, Anyhow, so Hemal, you will be responsible for sending me the names of all the shepherds for this session right after
Yes,
the
sir. I will
session.
send it. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Anyone else other than Hemal? No volunteers? We are going to talk about lecture 2.3 and 2.4. Introduction to C part 1, Introduction to C part 2. Sahil, have you been shepherd before? Okay, so Sahil is the second one. Arush and Pranav, just wait. Let us see, if there are anyone else. Rohit, have you been a shepherd
Sir,
before?
even I've done before, but I can do it.
Yeah, Shashwat. Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out if there are more people who would like to talk. This is a skill I want you guys to, just pick up. I'm not sure how what you are studying in professional communication, but this is like a practical lab for your professional communication classes. Okay, so Rohit is another one. We have Hemal, Sahil, and Rohit. I need two more. I'll actually pick one at random anyhow. So I need one more. Anyone who would like to be shepherd? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll pick two random. Okay, Abhinav. Abhinav, have you been a shepherd before? Okay, so Abhinav is fourth, and then I will pick one more. Okay, CSAI. Hmm. Abhyuday Tiwari. Are you there? Abhyuday Tiwari. No? Okay. Anmol Sankadiya.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you are another shepherd. Are you ready to be a shepherd?
Okay, sir, I will try.
Okay, fine. So Anmol is the fifth shepherd. Okay. So Hemal, it's your yeah. So you will have to send an email to me. Okay, guys. So let's start. I will share my screen. Hmm, where is that screen? Okay. So these are the questions for today. Before we start, let me also tell you that in the lectures we are only going to talk about concepts. Okay, so for example, uh, I'm not really going to discuss too much in detail about let's say printf syntax or scanf syntax, right? So the idea is that I'm not really planning to make you guys experts of C, right? I mean that requires a lot of practice. Okay, I'm not an expert of C. The idea is that you learn programming concepts and simply use C in order to apply those concepts. So there will be many things that even though I will teach you in the lectures, the idea is not to discuss too much of them, because um, the place where you will hone your syntax skills is your lab. Okay, so I had to talk about printf at so much length because the idea is in every language that you will use there will be a printf equivalent. Okay, so there will be some function, there will be some library function that will actually be used by you to output the work that you have done in your program, right? So the reason I spent a bit of time on printf and scanf is because I don't want you guys to actually uh, yeah, like C in and C out in C++. System.out.println is there in Java. Okay, what exactly I think it is print in Python. See, I actually have I'm not a Python coder, but I have used Python sometimes. So, but I think it is print in Python. So the idea is you should understand that where exactly are you supposed to use printf. This is the idea, right? So you use printf for number one, maybe in the beginning of your program you will write a printf so that you can inform the user that this is what is expected from this program. Then you write printf statements in order to tell the user that I expect the inputs to be in certain format. Then at the end you basically write printf in order to um, output your values in a nice format, right? This is the overall idea of using printf. Now why do we have %d for integer? What is the format specifier for float? What is the format specifier for char? Okay, these are the things that you can simply put on Google and figure out. Okay, or why do we have this escape character? Again, the reason I talked to you about /n is because /n is probably the most common character you will require when you are programming. Okay, \n. Okay, usually we just call it /n, but what it really means is \n. So in almost all programming languages we have this character \n, and it is used to change lines. So I have not talked about the other escape characters, for example. Okay, they are not really that important. So this is the idea that you have to learn the concepts more. We will use C in the labs, but try to keep your focus more on learning the concept than becoming experts of C. This is my idea. Okay, you should, if you are, of course, if you are programming for the first time, you should definitely try to learn the syntax as well, because this will be your lab, for example, to apply your concepts. But please don't spend too much time into going into the depths of C language, right? It's a very deep language, by the way. Okay, it's even difficult to scratch the surface of C in these lectures. So just use C for understanding the programming paradigm. Okay, you don't have to become experts of C. This is my idea. Even in your exams, the questions, maybe 70 to 80% of questions will be just on conceptual things. They won't really be targeting exceptions of C. Okay, so understand the programming paradigm. Okay, then you can pick up any language. I think you guys are already learning C++ from your seniors. So the idea is that if you want, you can pick up C++ as your default language. But if you are new to programming, just learn the concepts here. How do you actually program? Okay, so let's start with the first question, guys. I'm just yeah, Nehal, tomorrow will be C lab. Okay, from now on it would be C only, and uh, I think tomorrow I will probably give you just one program, so you can also send the .c file. But from next time onwards, I might give you more than one program. So in that case, you will have to zip them together in one zip file and then send it to your TA. But tomorrow will be a very simple lab. It will be again a 1 hour lab, because I haven't taught you much C as of now. So after this lab, after this week, from next week onwards, your labs will be like full-fledged labs, full-fledged 2 hour labs, where you'll have to write some decent amount of code. But this week it's going to be simple C. So we'll only need like 1 hour. Okay, so let us start, Shepherds. You can, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, in that lecture, when you entered with the in the Vim editor,
Mm-hmm.
so how did you come out of it, sir? I am unable to come out of it.
Okay. Yeah. So I had this same discussion with the other batch as well. So please don't feel pressured to use Vim because I use it. Okay. Uh, I use it because I like it. There is no pressure on you guys to use Vim. You can use Nano or whatever other editors are there. But anyhow, what I will do is, if we have time towards the end of this lecture, I will show you how to exit from Vim. Okay, there are some basic commands which you have to remember. That is just in case you want to use Vim. But as I said, you are not required to use Vim. You can use any editor that you want. Uh, but let us just stay on the discussions for now. Shepherds, you have to start with the first question. I'm going to mute myself now.
I I can try the common data types.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the common data types in C, like they are mostly common, like in we have studied in C++. They are int, character, char for character, float for decimal, like real numbers, double for longer real numbers. We can have short integer for smaller integers, unsigned integers. We can use that if we want to use larger numbers, like because if we use only integer, we have negative ones too, and that decreases the range of positive integers we can use. There are, now I will only name the rest ones. Short integer, we can unsigned. Okay, long integer, long integer. We can use unsigned long integer, and unsigned long integer. Yeah.
So I'm talking
They
about,
have
so the idea is that only let's just keep it to, char, int, float, double, only the common ones. I know there are so
okay,
many
okay.
different data types, just the common
Yes, sir,
ones that
that's
you
what
will find. Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt. As everyone is learning C++ side by side, so we can compare C and C++.
Yeah. 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 So the data types are the same in both C and C++. I'm not sure what exactly was the doubt.
Sir, I am the shepherd, so we are explaining to the students. So
Sorry,
my
sorry,
doubt
sorry,
was,
sorry, sorry. So don't address me, sir. Okay. Just address your
okay.
friends. Sorry.
okay. So
Any
Anyone
queries
have any
about what these
questions?
So any queries about what these four data types are, int, char, float, double? These are the basic data types. If you have any queries about these four, please ask your shepherds. Okay, so I guess it's clear. Yeah, Arush, I just don't understand that query. Was it expected to be answered by me?
No, sir, I was just asking that all of the students are learning C++ side by side. So
Okay.
now we are just discussing C, so we can compare using C++. I was saying that.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, fine. So yeah, that is what. So basically, there is a one-to-one parallel between the C and C++ data types.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Um, okay. Then if there are no doubts about what char, int, float, and double are, if you have any doubts, please ask the shepherds. Otherwise, we'll move ahead. Okay. So the idea again is that in any programming language, you will usually have at least three types of data types. There will be one data type which will basically store integers. The range of that data type might be different. It might be a smaller range or a larger range, but there will be some data type that will be used to store integers. There will be another data type that will be used to store real numbers. Now, double and float are basically just precision things, right? How precise they are. Yes, Divya, the size is usually compiler dependent. Okay, so so it is possible that on one system it is 4 bytes, on another system it is 2 bytes. On one system it is 8 bytes, on another system it is 4 bytes. That is possible. Okay. There are some basic restrictions. For example, the only thing that basic C expects is that, for example, short integer should never be it should not take more space than int. Okay, so there is another data type, by the way, called short. um, so short, in the original versions of C, short basically meant 1 byte integers, and int meant 2 byte integers. It's about space actually, Hriday. So float takes up less space. Double means double the precision of your float. Okay, so you need more space to store double variables.
sir, sir, I
Yeah.
had a doubt. I had a doubt to you only. So I wanted to ask that that float and double, sir, using double and not assigning values to like using double and using only like 2.35. So we are
Mhm.
still using
You are
the
using a Yeah. It is basically a float that you are using as double. That is fine.
so we are still using the size of a double like
Yeah,
the
you still use the size of a double.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Nehal, you can use size of. Size of is, I think it is not written like this. It is written like this. O is small. But yeah, you can use the size of operator to figure out all these things. Um, Irrational numbers, no, Sahil. Not in it is there are no data types which are defined specifically for irrational numbers. So when you study these structures, okay, people have a way to represent structures, represent irrational numbers using structures. But there is no straightaway data type to represent complex numbers in C. Actually, as far as I know, I mean, maybe MATLAB might have something like that. Um, but all these regular, the conventional programming languages like C, C++, Java, Python, they actually don't have a complex data type. So you have to there might be some languages which are math specific, as I said, like MATLAB. It might have, I don't know, but not there in C, C++, Java, or something like that. Yeah, Jay, you can store, any single character. It could also be a digit. It could be a special character. Anything. Anything can be stored in char, but just a single character. Uh, any other questions here? Okay, so again, do you guys have any more queries about data types? Please ask the shepherds, or we'll just move on. Okay, shepherds, you can move to the second question.
Okay, I will explain it. Header files. So whenever we write a program in C, we save it with the extension .c. So whenever we include any header file in our program, it is necessary to include .h at the end of the header file, and it is normally written at the start of the program with the syntax of hash include header file .h. It contains the library functions or mainly command. For example, data stdio.h contains the mainly contains the scanf and printf functions, and math.h contains the mathematical functions like square root and other all. So anyone please continue.
Yeah, so it basically contain the declaration or address of the functions that we want to use. Like in that video, we use math library. It contains the square root function. So for different types of programs, we need different libraries. So we include different types.
Is there some problem with WebEx, guys? I mean, I'm hearing that same. Okay, so I think the previous one was not that clear. Anyhow, so any queries about header files? Please ask.
Sir, I have a doubt from first question.
Yeah, go ahead. Your shepherds will answer.
If I'm using float or double, does it change the compilation time or compilation time?
I guess it depends on the precision you use. If you are using the like same number like 2.35 and 2.35, I guess it will be same. But if you are using more precision in double, then it will take more time.
So sorry, I did not hear the answer. I was replying to some emails. So what was has your doubt been resolved?
Sir, someone asked that does compilation for float and double take different times? So I answered that if the numbers are same, like the real numbers are same, I guess the time will be same. But if the precision you are entering is more in double, I guess it will take more time.
Okay, so first of all, compilation will not no. So it is something that is independent of your data type's size. Okay, so in compilation, what you really do is you are basically converting your code to a, a machine language, and so the actual statements that will be there in your machine language will be something like it's not the same, but for now just assume that it will say allocate 4 bytes for x, or allocate 8 bytes for y, right? There is no allocation that is actually happening there, right? It is basically an instruction where these instructions will be used when your program is executed. Okay, so compilation is different from execution. You have to understand this, right? In compilation, you are just creating a set of instructions for the computer, and during execution, you basically your computer picks up these instructions and execute them one after the other. Okay. So the actual compilation time, it has nothing to do with your space, right? I mean, because that is just an instruction. Instead of 4, you will write 8, something like this. So don't get confused with that. During execution, now it this is a difficult question to answer, that whether it will take more time to allocate 4 bytes or whether it will take more time to allocate 8 bytes. Frankly, it is it is at a too what can I say, too fundamental level to answer this. um, because the actual allocation of space, there is a different way in which it happens. So, and I don't want to go into that details. So there will do you guys have you guys seen your curriculum? Is there a course on principles of programming languages, something like that? If you have anything like that, you will study more about these things then. But for now, no, it doesn't take more time. Just understand this much, okay? It is exactly the same amount of time that char and float, they will get compiled in the same amount of time.
Okay, sir.
So any queries on header files? There are some chats on the that I have not read. I'll just see it. But otherwise, if there are any queries, you have to ask your shepherds. So there are some queries, guys, on the chat. Like Nehal has a query, Divya has a query. Okay, I'm just scrolling down. Okay, this one is a very good query from Sahil. If no one has an answer, I'll give the answer. But let me just shepherds, you have a lot of
Yes,
questions about header files. Just keep on answering them.
we can write.
So let's start with Nehal's query then. I think the first one is from Nehal. Can we create our own header files? Yeah, anyone would like to answer?
So we have answered, replied Nehal on chat, but I can explain it again. So you can, yes, we can create our own header file. We means whichever functions we are using in a program, we can create, we can include it in the header file. For an example, that when we create a program and save it with the extension .c, then that file .c contains our whole program. Similarly, we can create a header file which includes all the programs with an extension .h. So that header file will contains all that library, all that functions which are using in the program.
So guys, if your doubts are not yet cleared, just unmute yourself and ask, because I have to switch between replying to emails and coming back to this. So sometimes I miss certain chats. So if you have a query, just unmute yourself and ask.
Do the header files come with the compiler? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Divya. Shepherds query. Shepherds, there is a query. Does anyone like to answer?
Yes, I think it does not come with the compiler. The work of the compiler is uh, just to transfer transfer the language that we have written into binary. It does not include any header files.
So when we say that we are including the header files, so from what platform are we including it in our program?
So okay, let me just jump in here. So Divya, what happens is something like this. Uh, So header files, as you guys have probably already understood, header files are essentially a kind of declaration. And so there are two terms, declaration and definition. I have not talked about them in detail. I think I should have. I'll probably talk about them when we discuss functions in detail, but for now, just understand this. So declaration is basically saying that somewhere there is a function whose name is this, who's going to take these parameters, and who's going to return a type of this type. So this is just a declaration. It doesn't actually tell me where exactly the function will be. It just tells me, so the compiler knows that when your program is executed, this function will be found somewhere where it doesn't know. But what happens is there is something known as a linker. Okay, so if you do not give minus lm option, the error that you see is not really from the compiler, it is from the linker. I did actually upload a digression lecture, but I guess because it was not a part of your regular curriculum, maybe a lot of you might not have watched that lecture. So if you have a query related to this part, maybe you should also watch that lecture. But anyhow, so where do these header files stay? So what happens is something like this. Whenever you have any compiler, so GCC is a compiler, it usually comes with some standard libraries. Okay, so what do standard libraries mean? So there might be certain library functions that are too common. Okay, and hence it makes sense to ship them. When I say ship them, again, we use a lot of terminology from other domains. Shipping means you basically package it in one, so it comes along with your compiler. Let's just use this term, right? So some header files do come along with your compiler. So when you install GCC, those header files also come along with it. But it is not a necessity. Okay, not all the header files will come along with your GCC only comes with bare minimum header files. And so what these header files do is they basically declare that there is a function of this particular type that is present somewhere, where that it doesn't care. This is the part of the linker is responsible for finding out the implementations for all the functions that you are using in your code. Okay, so when I do this minus lm switch, okay, I think this is the next question also, right? Yeah, so when let me just like start with the answer to that as well. So when you actually do use this minus lm switch, this is actually an argument for the linker, not for the GCC, the compiler. So what happens is something like this. In the header files, let us say you are a developer who wants to create some library functions, and you want to send it out to the world to be used. So you have to do two things. First, you have to create a header file. In that header file, you mention that these are the functions that I have created, right? So you create the declarations for these functions. You don't actually write the code, you simply provide declarations. Then what happens, you also create a library, which is basically what machine code as in the binary code that can be executed. And you ship both these things to your users, your header file and your binary code. So header files are just a way of, someone has his or her mic on. Um,
Oh,
so
so
yeah, so sorry. Um, yeah, so header files are basically just a declaration. It says that there is a function like this which I am going to use now. And what really happens is at the time of linking, your linker finds out where the actual machine code for this function is available, and that machine code is brought and made a part of your executable. Uh, I'm sorry, I have probably drifted too far away. Divya, what was your question?
The same thing, sir. I just wanted to know from where do we get these header files? So you answered that some of them are by default with the compiler.
Yeah, and others you'll have to so if you are using a non-standard library, that non-standard library will send you both the header files as well as a the machine code of their library, which will usually be with an extension called .so or .o. Okay, so .o and .so are two common extensions for machine code, which is supposed to be used by others. So they'll send you a .o or a .so file and a header file. So this is how we use header files. Yeah, guys, if you have more questions, just unmute and ask. Okay. I think I have just fallen back on the chat part. I could not follow the chat. I was replying to some emails. So if you have a query, just ask the question. Your shepherds will try to answer. Otherwise, I will weigh in.
So my question is whether we can write header files in double quotes or not.
Yeah, that is a good question. Would anyone like to answer this?
No, sir, we don't know about this.
Okay, and it is fine because I did not teach all these things. So Sahil, again, the reason I did not teach is because I don't really want to get into specific details of C, because I just want you guys to pick up the concepts and not really become expert C coders. But anyhow, I'll answer this. So the difference between double quotes and this less than and equal to sign is that when you put a particular file in this less than equal to less than and greater than signs between them, what it means is that look for these files in a specific place. Okay, there is an include directory, so there is a path on your system where you are basically asking the compiler to look. Okay, so when you put that file in this particular greater than and less than thing, then your compiler is going to look for this header file in your include directory, and that include directory is set, it is a fixed place where your compiler will go and look. If you put it into double quotes, it means look in the current directory. Okay, so then your compiler will look for that .h file in the current directory wherever your C file is. So this is the difference between that less than equal to less than and greater than sign and the quotes. Okay, but again, don't go too much in that direction. Okay, you can of course try all these things at your leisure. You are free to explore C as a language, but the problem is it's too vast to to actually explore C. You'll probably take a lifetime and still you may not be able to explore C. So there is a limit to what you can do. So that is why just keep your focus more towards learning the concepts rather than learning C specific syntax. Anyhow, sorry, but that was a valid question, so I answered it. Okay, so
Okay,
let's
sir. Thank you.
yeah. So let's go ahead and go to the next question.
Yeah, Ahmad Maz has a question that what is difference between header files and library. So I guess header files like contains all the particular names of what uh, header, like what are the headings of what header files we are using, but the library contains its definition, in the sense all the codes which should be applied in the code runner before, like the all the codes which header file includes are written in library, and the names of header files like are written in the header files.
The library, you are confused between the library and the header file. So some specific type of header files are included in the library. For example, the math.h is a header file for math, means math operation. So there are other header files also which includes some other math operation. So that all header files are contained in one library. Means the library contains some group of header files.
So guys, the easiest way to understand it is something like this. Header file is the menu, and when that dish comes on your table, that is the actual library. Okay, so basically header file is where you get to know, okay, these are the items on the menu. It doesn't mean that item is currently on your table. Okay, you basically ask the waiter that I want X, Y, and Z out of this particular menu, and then the waiter goes there, and and library is basically your kitchen where all the dishes are there. So the waiter is simply going to get those dishes from the kitchen and put it on your table, and then you can use it. And this waiter is your linker. Okay, it is the responsibility of your linker to find out where these dishes are, where are the codes for this particular library function is present. It will bring it from there, and it will make this a part of your executable. Okay, and uh, so is it clear? I mean, the difference between what is a header file and a library? Uh, okay, thank guys. So, Uttaran, you had some doubts. I mean, I'm only just trying to scroll up and figure out. Is your doubt, cleared, Uttaran?
Sir, I was asking like if including, why do we even have header files? Why don't we have like all the functions already accessed?
So if it's like going to a restaurant and all the items on their restaurant, if they bring it on, put it on your table, would you like it? That is the same idea,
No,
right?
like, but in I guess in competitive programming, we often use bit slash stdc plus plus, and I think it includes a lot. I guess probably all the functions. Then it is not wise, but still we use. What would
See,
be the
it's like this, first of all, whatever libraries you use, there are libraries which are fat and there are libraries which are thin. Okay, so thin libraries have very specific codes, and fat libraries are more like, they have a lot of functions. So we are not really discussing which is better. The idea is, if you include a fat library in your program, it probably doesn't matter at small level programs, but once you start building large applications, the linker has to find out which library is it from which you have used a particular function. It has to browse through the library code, figure out the code from where, so we were talking about these things, right? Compilation time. So this actually affects your compilation time. How big is the library that you are using? That will affect your compilation time. Okay, because the linker will have to go and browse through that library to figure out where that code is. So while that size of your byte of your data types may not affect your compilation time, the size of the libraries that you are including in your code will affect the compilation time. And this is why we do not have like a universal library which has all the possible functions, because then even a simple hello world program will probably take a few minutes to compile, if not seconds, a few minutes. Is it clear, Uttaran? Like, because you don't need all the functions all the time, that is why there is segregation. You don't include everything, you only include the stuff that is required to you.
Yes, understood.
Yeah, so minus m is for math.s. Similarly, there are different, so there is a convention actually that they use. So if you have a library which is named something like lib libxyz dot a, something like this, right? Then you can use a shortcut like minus l xyz. So whatever is after lib, you can use that part. So the actual file, I think, that has your math functions. The library file is libm.a. So the shortcut for it is minus lm.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, what are the switches for string.h header file and stdlib.h header files?
I think string.h is probably already included. So there are certain libraries which are included by default by your linker, and string.h, I think, it is one of the default ones. So you don't need a switch for it. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. I think it is by default included, string.h.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So there are some, by the way. So this is what. So your linker, it is configured to include some libraries by default, and so for example, that stdio.h, that is from some standard library. Okay. Conio.h, I think no, it is not sure. It is not really about .h files. Okay, so this is about .a files. Okay, this thing is between .a and .h. J library is a collection of library functions. Okay, so one library will have multiple library functions. uh, yeah, Conio.h is something that you would see in Windows, I think. We started programming on something known as, I'm not sure whether it is still there. There used to be something called as Turbo C++. I'm not sure whether it is still there or not. But so the first program I wrote was on Turbo C++. Okay, so Conio.h used to be a part of the C++ of Windows. So this is, you can understand it. So Conio.h is not there on Linux, for example. With GCC, it is not there. So you can already see that why it is difficult to teach C and C++, because if you are on Windows, there might be a different header file for the same function. Okay, there might be a different library for the same function. So that is why it's difficult. Even with GCC versions, it will differ. Okay, I will try to teach you in such a way that GCC versions do not matter much, but I'm pretty sure at some point of time some of you might see slightly different results because you might be using a different version of GCC, because the default GCC versions are different for different distributions, different versions of distributions. Okay, so I might be using an older GCC, you might be using a newer GCC. So this is another issue, right? I mean, that is why it's hard to program in the C++ environment, because a lot of things are implementation specific. Okay, yeah. So is it clear, like so I think we have already discussed the LM part as well. I think we understand what library functions are, what header files are. Do we have any more queries? Please ask your shepherds.
Sir, if we can say that if we include hatch include bits std c++.h or hatch include iostream.h, the std c++ will take more compilation time since it are big.
If it is a bigger library, yes. I don't know what is the size. Okay, you have to understand. Now I'm talking about size of machine code. Okay, so I don't know how many bytes, for example, these libraries are. Uh, but if it is a big library, yes, it will affect your compilation time.
Okay,
So
sir.
can we explain it? So can we explain it by like if we have a file in a folder which is very like we have one file, inside that another file and another file, and we have a file named some like named CPP, and we search CPP in that folder and we search CPP in the whole PC. So can we relate these two things with what they are asking, like
This is exactly
STD
the
and
same thing, right? So if you have, so it's like the common terminology we use in computer science is needle and haystack. Okay, once you guys have a course on data structures in your curriculum. There must be some course on data structures. Uh,
Yes, sir.
maybe. Right. So in data structures, you will hear these terms like needle and haystack. The idea is that you have a haystack. Haystack, you understand? In Hindi we call it bhusa. Okay. So there is a lot of bhusa at one place. Okay. And then if you drop a needle, sui, okay, in that bhusa, how will you find it? Okay, so it's a difficult task, right? So these are the terms we use in computer science. Needle in a haystack, that it means that if the haystack is huge, it will take more time to search for it. If the haystack is smaller, it will take lesser time to look for it. That the same thing, right? So if you're trying to include a huge library, it will probably take more time for the for the linker to find out specific functions. Again, that depends on exactly how your linker works. Okay, there might be, order one. Okay, let me not go in that direction. It may or may not affect, but certainly it is a good idea to not include bigger libraries as part of your code unless they are absolutely required. Okay, let's just leave it here. Okay. Yeah. So any more questions on header files and libraries and library switches, these things? Okay. So the last question is, Shepherds, please take up the fourth.
So precedent of an operator means basically in maths we solve by using Bodmas rule. That is, we solve bracket, then multiplication, and then division. So likewise in C we use that precedence of an operator. We evaluate the expression which has which which has highest priority for uh, uh, and we solve that that likewise parenthesis has highest priority. So in expression we solve parenthesis first, then division, then multiplication. And if there is like operators which have same priority, so we go from left to right.
So this is a very important concept, guys. I mean, again, not the actual operator precedence in C, but the concept of operator precedence in programming. So if you have any doubts, please ask, like how is it different from mathematics, and so please, if you have any doubts, please ask. So is it all clear? It's very good if it is clear. I'm not.
So I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ask your questions to the Shepherd.
I want to ask that if there are so many operators like multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, also we know that division and multiplication have same priority, so it will read from either left to right or right to left. So will it read the whole code from left to right, or only the division or multiplication part left to right, and then again it will switch to read from right to left?
Yeah, Shepherds.
Can you please again ask, like, explain the question?
I suppose that if there are many operators like division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and we know that division and multiplication have same priorities, so the compiler will read the code from either left to right or right to left. So will it read the whole code from left to right, or only the division multiplication part?
No, no, only that part, only division multiplication part will be read from left to right, and then the rule will be followed.
Then it will switch again from right to left for the operation.
Yes, so then it will be only if the multiplication divide left to right is over, then again it will switch to that precedence order, that whereas the bracket it will be considered first and then multiple division plus and minus.
Okay, thank you.
Jay, even I am not sure what exactly is your question. So you are saying that, let us say I have a complex expression which has multiple operators. So what is your question? That will it shift from what right to left, left to right? I'm not sure what exactly was the question.
So means the compiler.
Just do this. Just do this. On the chat, write an expression, an example expression, and then ask your question with respect to that. Okay. Something like 5 into 3 minus 2 plus something like this, right? So just write it on the chat and then ask your question with respect to it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, Nehal, I think someone has already answered. Basically, modulo operator has the same precedence. So there, again, you don't have to remember the precedence as such. Um, you, it is fine if you somehow know that this is higher than that. Okay. You don't really have to remember this is number one, this is number two, this is number three, because there are many operators which you will not use. But for example, since certain rules which you should know is that asterisk and slash and this percent are higher than plus and minus. This is enough to know. Similarly, your relational operators are below your arithmetic operators. Relational operators, greater than, less than, equal to, these things. And I'm saying this because this is in general for all languages. Okay, it's not just for C. um, it is usually for all languages. So the idea is that any language that you study, there will be a set of operators and there will be a precedence order for them. Okay, so the idea is that when it gets executed, the precedence order is honored. This is the only idea that you have to grasp out of this. That and this precedence order is not the same as BODMAS. Okay, different languages might have something like this. So I think Jay has written his query. Now, Jay, you can ask your question in terms of this expression, and the shepherds will try to answer.
So it will start like division and multiplication will start from the beginning. So both have same priority. So it will read from left to right. So will the compiler read the whole code from left to right, or once the division is done, then it will change its reading direction?
No,
No, first,
Yeah.
yeah, the first thing is the compiler needs to read the whole expression, and in the whole expression, let us say, for example, if I include 6 minus 3 in a parenthesis, let us just say, right? So then 6 minus 3 has to be executed first. Okay. Usually what happens is when you actually study something when you study a course on compilers, there is something known as a parse tree. Okay, so for every expression you have to make a parse tree, and what happens is that parse tree will actually decide what gets executed when. But because you don't really know what yeah, postfix prefix, right? You guys all have you guys read postfix expressions and prefix expressions? Um, okay. So postfix prefix, by the way, Nehal, is the first step. So after that you convert it into a parse tree. Um, postfix prefix just makes it easier to understand what is the precedence order. But once you have converted it into postfix or prefix, you also have to make a parse tree. A parse tree is something that you will study in compilers. So but coming back to your question, Jay, so basically your compiler will read the whole expression. Okay, and then it will start figuring out which is the highest one in this whole expression. Then let us say there are two operators which has the highest precedence. Then the operator that is on the left will be executed first, and the operator that is on the right will be executed later. So for example, in BODMAS we used to calculate division first and addition and subtraction and multiplication later. But in computer science, usually division and multiplication have the same precedence. It is not necessary that it always have so, but in most programming languages they have the same precedence. So it doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's like a if your compiler finds multiplication before division from left to right, it will calculate multiplication first. Does that make sense now?
So sir, in this question, it will do division first, and then it will continue to move from left to right, and it will do multiplication at the end.
No, multiplication and division have the same precedence, but they have higher precedence than addition or subtraction.
So first it will divide, then multiply, and then add and subtract. It will not go from left to right. Is that the case?
yes, it will not go from left to right. First, it will do multiply, divide, then it will do addition, subtraction.
Okay, thank you.
So I think this part is clear now. Operator precedence. Any more queries on this? So the overall idea is that you should just understand that there is something like operator precedence, right? And this operator precedence may or may not be the same as your baud mass rule. This is the only idea you need to understand. In different programming languages, you may encounter different operator precedences, but usually slash asterisk percent, they are usually at the same level. So it's not the case that your compiler will execute slash first and then asterisk. If it encounters asterisk first, it will use asterisk before. So we will talk about plus plus and minus minus operators, the post and pre increment operators in the next week. Okay, I've just kept it because I will talk about it when I talk to you guys about for loop. So and the reason I'm not putting too much importance to those two operators is because they are very specific to C++ and Java. Okay, you may not actually see them that often in other languages. uh, and plus, their usage itself might be a bit more tricky. But I will talk to you guys about plus plus and minus minus. But the idea as of now, as of today, is that there are operators in programming languages and they have precedences. And when your compiler starts executing your expressions, the precedence is honored. And if there are two operators of the same precedence, the one on the left is executed first, one on the right is executed later, almost all the time, right? So there are some exceptions where it will be the other way around, but for now, whatever you know till now, it is going to be always from left to right. Okay. So any more queries about operators? We are going to, by the way, come back at 2:30. So um, we can probably drop we can also take a few more queries at that time as well. So I guess you guys have about 1 hour of lunch time. So go and enjoy your lunch, and we'll we'll sit again at 2:30. Okay. I
Sir,
plus plus. Yeah, go ahead.
sir, actually, I was not able to attend the first 10 minutes of this lecture. Sir, what was the announcement that you were making?
Yeah, sorry. So basically, we have a class at 2, right? We have just decided that we start at 2:30, 2:30
Okay,
to
sir.
3:30.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
So
sir.
please inform your friends, right? That we will be sitting at 2:30. All of it's your responsibility somehow disseminate this information in your batch. I don't know what mechanisms you use. WhatsApp, Facebook, call your friends, whatever it is, right? But please tell everyone that it's at 2:30. Yeah, WhatsApp is fine, I guess. We'll take up Sahil. We'll take up this question in the first thing at 2:30. Okay, I plus y. Okay. We'll start with this. We don't really have to discuss it in class, but we can do it anyhow. So we'll start with this. Okay, guys. So go have a nice lunch. Don't go to sleep. We are coming back at 2:30. Okay. Okay. Bye, guys.